Alright, this is John Cola with okraw.com to do another exciting episode for you. I'm so excited to be finally back home from traveling. Been traveling so much back home, getting my garden in shape. We got my basically winter garden planted out between these two beds here. These two raised beds, I have over 200 basically plants, mostly like brassica family plants, kale, collard greens, broccoli, purple cauliflower, Asian greens, arugula, all kinds of cool stuff coming right up. But anyways, in this episode, we're not talking about my garden as much as I love my garden. We're going to go ahead and answer you guys' questions. I haven't done this in a while since I've been traveling so busy lately, but I do like to try to answer your guys' questions when I'm able. I want to apologize in advance. There's one of me, and I have over 100,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel. And, I can't answer every question that people leave below in the comments or message me on different social media elements. I just have a policy where I just don't respond to people, and I apologize for that in advance, because otherwise that'd be my full-time job, and I barely could keep up with my life as it is, doing my gardening, preparing all my food, and getting my work done, and then making new content, new videos, and just trying to live my life and get my house cleaned and everything else. So I apologize. If you do want to contact me, I do have a way you guys could do that. I'll post a link down below. It's basically to my Fiverr campaign, Fiverr, for just $5. I'll give you a call actually for 10 minutes. And talk to you on the phone, answer any questions that you may have about gardening or anything else that I'm able to, discuss. I know a lot of things, but I don't know everything. So, and then all the money that comes into Fiverr, I don't actually take out and keep the money. Like, that's not worth it to me. I use that money to basically pay back into people in the Fiverr community to get my videos transcribed so that my content will be available for people that are hearing impaired or in other countries that do not speak English. When it is transcribed into English, then it can be auto-translated from Google or YouTube into other languages, which is very important for me that my content gets out to as many people as possible. Anyways, if you have a question for me, the best place to post it is I'll put a link down below to my community tab, and you can post a question there, and it may be selected for next time I do a Q&A. I try to do these every month, but I don't always get to it. All right. So anyways, we got a lot of questions today. Let's just get right into it. Alaric Harrison, do you recommend using citrus fruits like oranges, limes, and lemons when juicing for their natural preservative properties from citrus and ascorbic acid that slows the natural oxidation process, preserving the natural nutrients of other fruits and vegetables being juiced? So the answer is yes, I absolutely do recommend that. I personally like to juice either like whole lemons or whole limes into my juices as I'm juicing it to add some extra citric acid, as well as all the different bioflavonoids and different nutrients in the citrus fruit as well. I try to get my citrus fruit as ripe as possible. Limes should not be green. They actually should be yellow when they turn ripe. So try to find, more ones that are yellowish. But oftentimes I don't really differentiate between the two. I get whatever is organic and whatever one is cheaper. Lately I've found that organic lemons are cheapest by the pound, actually at Trader Joe's. If you guys have to buy them and don't have a tree yourself, actually grow some kumquats in the back of my garden as well. You could also use oranges, but I don't like to use oranges because you have to peel off the coloring of the skin, whereas on limes and lemons you can put them all into the juicer, skin and all. In oranges, grapefruits, and tangerines, there are indigestible, naturally occurring chemicals from the orange plant or the citrus that will give us gas, bloating, and really give you a funky breath, so don't do that. And so I don't like to use oranges for that reason, because you have to basically cut off the orange coloring, but you want to leave as much white pith as possible, all right? Next question is from Raw Food City. Hey John, big fan. Do you have an exercise routine? Working out in that garden of yours, that Vegas heat would be enough for me. All right, yes, I'll put down below actually a video I did with John Pierre, a buddy of mine, a vegan fitness trainer, and we show how I actually get exercise in my very garden, right? This is very important to me. Exercise is super important. Do I do the best job at exercising? I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, I ain't perfect. I'm never gonna say I'm perfect. I'm striving to be a better individual each and every day in my life. And one of the things that gets shoved to the side is my exercise when I'm really busy. And that's just what it is. I'd love to go out on hikes more, take my dog out for walks and all this stuff. But if I'm busy working, that takes precedence over the exercise. Although exercise is really important, it's not like I don't get any exercise because my daily life is exercise. I'm moving around, doing laundry, doing dishes, you know, I'm doing gardening, I'm going and shopping and procuring different, you know, foodstuffs, organic food, fruits and vegetables to buy. I visit different farms, I walk around farmers markets, I travel a lot, I walk, you know, so I do get exercise, but I would like to incorporate something like more like yoga, more stretching, and more aerobic activity, especially like I really like to get into rock climbing. I really like, you know, functional exercises where actually you're not just going to the gym and like simply pumping weights. You'll probably never find me in a gym. You'll probably always find me out in nature doing something constructive, but at the same time working my body, working my amazing body to get the exercise that it needs, and that's what I would encourage you guys to do as well. All right, next question is from Theory Valencourt. Do you have any resources I can read on how to ferment beans myself instead of buying pre-made? I'd assume it'd be healthier. I tried to look at one of your videos, but didn't find any. For example, I bought a bunch of organic garbanzo beans, black beans, pinto beans, and instead of cooking them, I'd probably ferment them. All right, so here's a big differentiation, right? Beans raw can be quite toxic, whether they're fermented or not, right? So you have to make sure that the bean that you are wanting to ferment, if you are wanting to ferment beans raw, then make sure you only ferment beans that can be eaten raw. So for example, you know, back in the day when I got into raw foods, I would sprout garbanzo beans and basically ferment them into sprouted garbanzo bean hummus. I don't do that anymore, actually. It's rare that I do that, and some people still do that. You know, another bean that you could eat raw if you like sprout it would be lentils. So I would sprout it and then basically blend it up and then add some probiotic culture and then basically ferment it raw. That being said, something like black beans or pinto beans or even like kidney beans, don't just try to take those, soak them, and then ferment them and then eat them. They'll be highly toxic. Fermentation and the bacteria in the fermentation process will break down some of the phytates and different toxins in the beans, but it's not sufficient enough to remove them all and can make you very sick. So I would, you know, not encourage you guys to do that. What I would recommend is this, actually, and you know, this is like where I kind of step outside the raw food dogma. And, you know, I see beans as a healthy food, you know, as long as it doesn't displace, you know, excess vegetables and to a lesser extent fruits that you would be eating. I think a healthy diet is a well-rounded diet where you're getting all your different nutrients. And so, like, how I prefer to eat my fermented beans is I eat natto. So actually last night's dinner I put in natto, which is basically fermented soybeans. You cook the soybeans and you inoculate them with the bacteria, and then you basically, you know, have them live at about 100 degrees or so, and they will culture. Another process I've made, or actually I haven't done, but I do eat, is the tempeh. I have a really good video. I'll put a link down below to a company that actually makes tempeh in Maui, so you could see their process and basically just duplicate their process and how they basically ferment their beans after cooking. Another technique that Chef Ito uses at Lock in Los Angeles is that basically he will take his beans, and optimally I like to sprout the beans first, then I would cook the beans in a pressure cooker, and then I would take the beans out, and then I would basically blend them up in a blender or a food processor, and then I'd add basically probiotic cultures, whether that's in the form of sauerkraut or some probiotic capsules if you know they're actually alive and have active cultures, and then put that in there and then let that ferment. So you're fermenting a cooked food product, which is basically what natto and the tempeh is, but you're just doing yourself in, you know, blended up, you know, beans with the probiotics, and then I would consider that not a raw food because it has been heat processed, so you're losing the enzymes, but when you re-inoculate it with the probiotics and then the probiotics live in there for a couple days or a week or however long you ferment it, then you actually have life force again in there. You have the living bacteria, which are then basically breaking down the beans to make them even more digestible than just cooking them alone and making additional metabolites and different nutrients, you know, potentially as well. And in my opinion, making beans literally the healthiest way to eat, and that's why I choose to only eat fermented beans. I haven't gotten into like doing that yet because once again, that's like an extra project, and I'm kind of on track with what I'm doing, and you know, when I have time or something, a partner to experiment with that, I'm gonna take it to the next level and start incorporating more of that stuff because it is actually quite good, and I think can be quite valuable to add to your diet. All right, provided it does not displace things like leafy greens, which in my opinion are more important than beans, all right? Next question is from Truth in Entertainment. Hey John, I was wondering, would it be possible for a person with fibromyalgia to be cured on raw food diet if they really work at it? Life expectancy BTW is around 30 years old. Thanks. All right, so I can't make any claims on things curing anything. Only your doctors could do that, you know, as dictated by law. But I will say that actually one of my ex-girlfriends did have fibromyalgia, and she was significantly helped from raw foods. Maybe some of my viewers out there watching this now have also had fibromyalgia and helped dramatically by making dietary changes as well. And leave some comments down below for this person. But, you know, I say that our bodies heals itself. It's not the raw food, right? It's getting out of the way of our body healing, whether that means you're going to, you know, take a break from eating for a little bit, whether that means eating the proper diet that really nourishes our body, that does not hinder its progress, whether that means just something as simple as changing your sleep. I've been researching sleep lately, and I'm trying to up my sleep game to get proper sleep, to be more energized when I awake. Different methods of doing this that I may have a video on. I mean, I'm doing like sleeping in a grounding sleeping bag, which is kind of like people probably think I'm whacked out. But you know, all these little things may not make a super huge difference, but all combined and making sure you have enough B vitamins before you sleep. Maybe even I'm using a red light now, which is total next level stuff. All these things may be incremental and help you basically achieve a greater level of health and more importantly, more resiliency, you know, so that you don't get sick in the future and that your body can better heal. So I would say definitely try it and look for other testimonials for people doing it. I strive to look and find people that have been doing different, you know, raw food style diets and get healing from different illnesses and basically make videos about them as I find people that are legit and actually have been doing this. All right. Next question is from Terry O. Hi, how do you feel about teas? Are they good for you even if not raw? Or am I better off eating things such as dandelion root teas, etc.? Thank you. All right, Terry, so teas, you know, here's the thing, right? And this is true with everything, right? Foods are either better or worse than something else, right? I mean, I don't have to tell you guys that like eating some kale out of my garden is better than a Snickers bar or better than, you know, McDonald's or a vegan diet cheese or whatever, you know? So you guys get that. But now even with beverages, some beverages are better than others in my opinion. And I guess it depends on how you define better. Does better mean cheap? Does better mean more cost effective? Does better mean fast and easy? Does better mean warms you up on a cold winter's day? You know, for me, better means the most nutrition possible in the least amount of space with the least amount of calories, you know, nowadays, in this situation, right? So tea, what do you get when you get a tea? So like I have a tea plant going over there. I think it's still alive maybe. But I could take the leaves off and I could grind them up, put them in water, and basically get a water extract of the nutrients in the tea, right? Plus lots of water, which is another messy topic that we could talk about that I'm not. So you basically you leach out some of the nutrients from the tea. A better thing would be just to take the raw tea leaf and put it in your mouth and eat the tea, because now you're gonna leach out while you're sucking on it and chewing it. The saliva is going to leach out the nutrients. Plus, you're going to swallow it. You're going to get all the fiber and probably get additional nutrients that your body could break down and your microbiome and bacteria could break down that you would not normally get in a tea. So that would be my answer. My answer would be, like, instead of drinking, like, you know, green tea, black tea, right, I have matcha, which is basically powdered tea leaf that then I could mix into smoothies. Now I'm getting the full benefit of the tea, you know, plant, in a whole food format where, in my opinion, there's more nutrition. That being said, sometimes tea may be beneficial as well for, you know, what they provide and the extracts that it's providing. You know, what I like to do when I'm traveling, many times I'll get free bottled water. It's not my choice to drink bottled water in plastic, but, you know, you got to do what you can when you travel. And then from the hotel, and they also provide free tea bags. So you can just take a tea bag and just put it in the bottle of water and just extract the tea out in the bottle of water. And now you basically made your bottle of water that you drink more nutritious, because now you have some of the plant extracts that were in the tea bag. And this is free at some of the hotels I stay. So, you know, that's what I do. I'm not going to say they're unhealthy. I'm not going to say they're healthier. They're healthier than most things. I'd rather have somebody drink a tea than, you know, have a Coke or a soda or a processed, bottled, you know, juice with sugar and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, personally, I'd rather just juice a vegetable juice. And actually, that's what I've already had today. All I had was 24 ounces of celery juice straight up, organic, and 32 ounces of a mixed vegetable and with a little fruit in there, as well as my juice. And after this video, probably I'll be eating some persimmons or probably some fajoas. All right. So hope that answers your question. And yeah, I mean, eating the dandelion root like fresh would be good also. You know, I want you guys to get a wide variety. If you always drink green tea, hey, switch it up. Get different herbal teas. Get our, white tea. Get fermented teas. There's so many different kinds of teas out there if you guys are still into drinking tea. You know, I drink tea very rarely. I don't like to have things that are super hot because my palate is not used to eating things hot, because I don't like heat things up and eat things hot, and it like burns my mouth and it trips me out. So if I do tea, I like to do a sun tea. Just put the tea bags in, the water, and like leave it out in the sun, which actually I do very rarely. And that the same thing goes with kombucha. Kombucha is basically just a tea that's been fermented, and I think there are plenty healthier things than kombucha. All right, next question is from Divianda Nintha. Sorry about the name pronunciation there. Hey John, I hope you're having a wonderful day. What is your opinion about raw seaweed, such as in raw nori wraps? Do you consider frozen fruit to be raw, and why or why not? How do you calories from fruits and vegetables compare to the calories in processed food? In your opinion, is it possible to gain weight on raw foods? All right, so many questions. Yes, I'm having a wonderful day so far, so thank you. My opinions on raw seaweed, such as raw nori wraps. So I think seaweed is a beneficial food with caveats, right? I mean, if I lived like 100 years ago, I'd probably have no or minimal caveats about seaweeds. That being said, in this day and age, with all the environmental pollution, seaweeds can have toxins contained within them and be high in different trace minerals and trace metals. But at the same time, they also contain trace minerals that are not found in normal fruits and vegetables money is buying, because they are not adding the right nutrients or minerals to the soils to grow food as I believe they should. And that's why I grow my garden. So I add, this bed got azomite trace minerals and got different kind of rock dust powder trace minerals, and actually even a mineral supplement to add minerals to my soil so that my plants could uptake them. And when I eat my plants, I get these minerals. Basically, seaweeds are basically just sea plants for the most part. I mean, the simple definition. And I believe they can be quite beneficial and valuable in proper quantities, right? I don't sit there and eat meals of seaweed. I eat meals of greens, just like my soup last night. I have all these greens fresh picked out of my garden, and then I add some seaweed to it to make sure I get some of those beneficial minerals that may be in some of the sea vegetables that may not be in my garden, even though I add different trace minerals in there. Every different plant will absorb different levels of different minerals, and both good and bad ones. And so I like to vary it. I strive to get seaweed from Korea, Japan, Iceland, New Zealand, Europe, also the East Coast and the West Coast of the United States, further up north as much as possible. And I rotate the different seaweeds that I eat. I don't always eat nori. Had nori like 3 nights ago, and then last night I had this stuff called from Japan called makabu, which is actually super amazing and actually very hard to find in its whole naturally sun-dried form. And the stuff I get is actually radiation tested and heavy metal tested. So make sure you find a good source for your seaweed. I currently get a seaweed powder. I probably have a video on it somewhere. I think the place is called Wild Spirit Herbs off the top of my head. I get their seaweed powder mixes. I think a really good way to add some seaweed to your diet. One of these days I will be doing a definite dedicated seaweed episode to share with you guys more about that, because I think this is where I vary with some raw foodists. Some raw foodists may just avoid seaweeds because they're filter feeders. They're basically kind of algae, and they're in the sea that could be highly toxic. And like I hate these like whole that's good or it's bad. It's somewhere in between. I prefer not to eat seaweeds from China because I'm really concerned about that. But I don't like just not eat seaweeds because the oceans at some level are contaminated. Try to do the best you can. Even a lot of food you guys are buying are contaminated. You buy conventional foods, that's contaminated too. Like what isn't contaminated? Human beings, in my opinion, have kind of messed up the earth due to greed and profit. Anyways, that was a long answer. And, raw nori, another thing on raw nori, try to get the raw nori, not the most nori wraps are roasted or toasted. How you will know is by looking at the color. If the nori is purple, that's how it naturally looks in the ocean when you take it out of the ocean and dry it like I have done in the past. And so that's the best color to get. Otherwise, you get maybe one that's black. That could be also decent. But if it's looking kind of like a green tinge, you know, that's a sign that it has been roasted. Look on the packaging. It's actually kind of getting harder to find raw seaweed these days in any case. All right. Next question is, do you consider frozen fruit to be raw, and why or why not? So yes, I consider frozen fruit to be raw. If you guys are buying pre-frozen fruits, as far as I'm aware, frozen fruits for the most part, there may be some exceptions, are not blanched before freezing, so they can be considered raw if that is super really important to you. Most vegetables, however, have been blanched before freezing, which technically they're not raw, but I still actually eat them. If they're 100%, you know, frozen vegetables. Like I just bought some frozen corn at Costco last night. It was like 5 pounds organic peas, for $7.49, which is an amazing price. So like, my diet isn't frozen peas or corn or other vegetables that I may happen to buy. It's fresh fruits and fresh vegetables with a handful or two of frozen peas to make it interesting and to give my diet some variety. In addition, I will actually take those frozen peas that I bought organic and then freeze dry them and have frozen freeze dried organic peas, which are amazing. All right. So yes. And then of course, always the best way, and you know, once again, my time is short, and I wish I could freeze and grow peas on large scale and pot them all and freeze them, because then I'd have raw peas. You know, do it yourself is always the best. Become your own producer, grow your own food, freeze it yourself. Then you know it's definitely raw. Even if you freeze your own vegetables, it's still raw. But the ones you buy in the store pre-made have been blanched, all right? But that's not a real big concern for me. What's more important is actually that it is nutrient dense and it has lots of nutrients, because I'm not eating frozen food for my enzymes, which is one of the things that's lost under freezing, as well as some of the antioxidants and nutrition can be lost during the freezing process, but even more are lost during the thawing process, which many people don't realize. So you want to thaw out your fruits and vegetables as fast as possible and then get them into you, and don't just let them thaw slowly, all right? Whew. Now, I don't know where else you're going to get all these answers, man, because I've researched a lot of stuff. I've learned a lot of stuff along my journey, all right? How do calories from fruits and vegetables compare to calories in processed foods? So, you know, here's the thing, right? Processed foods, in my opinion, are like empty calories. The calories are like significantly higher. Like literally leafy green vegetables are like probably one of the lowest calorie foods that have the most nutrition on the planet, you know, followed by, you know, non-sweet fruits, followed by sweet fruits. You know, wild blueberries, one of my favorite things. Actually, I get the frozen wild blueberries at Trader Joe's. And actually, I just eat those in smoothies, or, you know, blend it with some coconut yogurt, or I just freeze dry them and just eat them plain and dry. These are super high in phytochemicals and antioxidants and phytonutrients. These are the most important foods that, in my opinion, are not stressed enough or talked enough about in a raw foods diet. A raw foods diet, by definition, should be more nutrient dense than other diets, but you can even take it to the next level, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, trying to like take my diet to the next level and even eat more phytonutrient rich foods. You know, I was at a website, actually the University of North Carolina somewhere, where they actually have a department. Actually, I sold my vacuum blender today, where they actually will use different plant phytonutrients to basically, you know, show that in laboratory studies and in testing, you know, that turns people's health around. They're still learning about all these amazing things that phytonutrients can do. So don't shortchange yourself by eating phytonutrient depleted foods, you know, and try to reduce those, such as bananas, a phytonutrient depleted food, whereas blueberries are high in phytonutrients. To get those wild blueberries, it does make a difference compared to the cultivated blueberries. Cultivated blueberries are a lot more sweeter and not quite as deep purple as the wild ones are. So yeah, lower in calories, yeah, so processed foods, high in calories. When you start processing food, you start remove some of these phytonutrients, antioxidants, and they get lost, and you basically just compact up the calories, and it's really not good. And this is what most Americans eat, and this is really sad. Even if you're going to still eat processed foods and junk foods and vegan junk foods, I don't really care, but I really want you guys to increase the amount and volume of leafy greens and high antioxidant fruits, as well as other fruits, because once again, every food is always better or worse than another food, depending on your specific situation and your body, and many other different factors as well. All right? And yes, it is possible to gain weight on raw foods. I'll put a link down below to a video where actually I gained weight on raw foods. I think of maybe about a year, half a year ago now. I definitely gained some weight due to some challenges, but now I'm back to my stable weight. I weighed myself the other day, 143 pounds. So I'm feeling good and rocking it, right? And if you buy a freeze dryer, don't eat too many freeze dried foods. That's one of the ways that I gain weight fast on raw foods, by overeating calories. All right. I should have been overeating calories of freeze dried vegetables, and I would have gained weight, and I would have been healthier because of it. All right. Next question is from Joshua Brown. What are your thoughts on food combining? Example, mixing fruits with fats, etc. So food combining, this is a lengthy topic of discussion. I know some people really believe in it, and some people really don't believe in it and think it's hogwash. And, where do I lie? I lie somewhere in between, right? I think that food combining can be helpful for so many people, depending on the specific person, and more importantly, depending on the specific person, but also the person's microbiome, which is not really talked about, right? I tend to like to eat simple. There was a period of time where I basically did food combining. I had a girlfriend that actually had to food combine, or she would get sick without food combining and not feel well. And so for people like that, determine it for yourself and stick to it. I think it can be helpful for many people, but then some people it may not be as helpful for, right? And also, I tend to, when I combine recipes, I try to follow food combining rules for the most part and not make things too complex and making these crazy recipes. I try to stick to the guidelines for the most part, although I'm not like perfect and I don't follow them completely, but I also like to eat fairly simply and not have more than, a handful or 2 handfuls of ingredients at one time, although my elaborate soup last night was for about 20 different ingredients in there. And so, I don't want to keep it too simple, I don't want it too complex, and I kind of just do a balance. And so that's what I think about that, all right? Paul Miller, at what age did you come out as gay? All right, so 2 answers. Number 1, I've never come out as gay, and answer number 2, I will never come out as gay as far as I'm aware. I'm a heterosexual male, and, I don't have any problems with people that are, gay or into whatever their gender whatever type of people they like. That's just not me. So I don't know where you got that, but I thought I'd answer that publicly, all right? Reverse Cell. Best juicer for juicing fruits. Top 3 if you have. Fastest dishing juicer. Or is that washing juicer after you're done with juicing? Do faster juicers usually take faster to dish wash after you are done juicing, all right? So best juicer for juicing fruits, that can be problematic. Number 1, I will say I don't recommend juicing fruits as my rule, right? Fruits should be enjoyed whole. Some fruits, you're basically just throwing your money away if you're juicing them, such as blueberries or strawberries. They get very little juice. There's so much delicious fiber, and juicers are just not effective at extracting all the different phytonutrients out of them that can be locked up in the fiber, right? And so I recommend vacuum blending fruits for the best results, or even better than vacuum blending is just chewing them with our mouths, slow RPM, slow action, mixing that salivary amylase and getting full digestion. After that, I would recommend vacuum blending your fruits. Sometimes I do like to concentrate the nutrition in fruits. So for example, I had some pineapples that were kind of like not that sweet. And if I get pineapples that I'm not even going to enjoy eating, or like watermelons, I'll juice it because then I can remove the fiber. It makes it a little bit more enjoyable, and I'm removing some of the fiber. That being said, despite removing the fiber there, my diet is still higher in fiber than most people. So I'm not saying eat a fiber depleted diet. I like to juice fruits sometimes, but on the flip side, I think that, we should eat them whole whenever possible. Okay, so that's the disclaimer. Juicers don't juice fruits well. That's another challenge. Most juicers are really good at extracting nutrients from leaves or hard vegetables, but fruits have a soft texture, can be challenging. So the best juicer for juicing fruits is the old-fashioned, basically wine or apple press, a screw style press. They basically have 2 plates and come down and just smash the stuff out of it. You have the fruit in a cheesecloth, and it basically gets all the juice out. So that's going to be the most effective. Those cheesecloth things can be very difficult to clean. Maybe the juicer that I don't even know is out yet, called the Jula V, is also a really good style juicer for juicing fruits, because it literally presses out and squeezes out all their juices. The Pure Juicer, another style of press style juice that's going to be very effective at juicing fruits, although I'm not convinced it's going to get all the nutrition out by just simply breaking open the cell walls and pressing out the liquid from the fruits. So that being said, the kind of juicer I like to juice for fruits when I'm juicing them is my vertical auger juicer. My Omega VSJ843 is my favorite vertical auger juicer. At this time, I'll post a link down below to the 10 reasons why I still love the VSJ843 after 5 years of using it. It is one of the best juices for fruits. It's not 100% effective and get the fruit super dry, but for most things, it works better than all the other juicers I've tested, except in terms of the press, right? And so that's what I'd say. And I wouldn't say I even had a third style that I'd recommend you. And then fastest for cleaning, you know, I like the VSJ. It takes me 3 minutes to clean that juicer. Does good at fruits, also does good at leafy greens as well as other vegetables as well. Those press style machines, they take me a little longer because the press cloth kind of gets all nasty. Plus some of those machines can be quite expensive. And then do juices usually take faster to dishwash after you're done juicing. So do faster juice. I don't really get the last part of the question. So I would just say that this, you know, the VSJ, my favorite go-to juicer, vertical juicer, 3 minutes to clean, and works fairly quickly. The super high-speed machines that run fast with a spinning disc, they are poor. They juice fruits poorly. And, you know, I'd rather clean my vertical juicer than a high-speed machine because they have lots of holes in the screen that you have to scrub out with a brush. And if you miss holes and leave stuff clogged in there, the yield will basically lower over time. All right, we got half the questions done today. So next question is from apuz13. Would love to see an updated video of shopping in Las Vegas. Will you be doing one anytime soon? Costco, Sam's Club, Sprouts, and places like that. Andrew, yes. So I plan on doing that one of these days when I get somebody to help me to do that, to travel around with me, to go to all the places. I found even new places that I'm shopping at here in Vegas, because even though I got my current places, I always like recheck other places and go to new places to see if there's any new cool places that I should be getting stuff at. And actually one of my favorite places now is actually Smart and Final, believe it or not, right? I never used to go into Smart and Final because they're like, you know, like for restaurant owners and all this stuff, but they've kind of made it more towards consumer friendly, but also still good for restaurants to buy stuff. They sell things in bulk, so it's actually the cheapest place to buy like spring mix or different organic mixes, 2 pounds for $7.99, I believe. And then even better yet, Smart and Final, when it's getting close to the pull date, like it's a couple days before, they'll mark it down by half. So I've gotten like 2 pounds of spring mix and like herb mix for like $4, which then is like $2 a pound, which is amazing. They also sell bulk arugula spring mix, basically. It's 100% baby arugula for basically $4 for 1 pound if you buy it in a 2 pound container, which is the best price. And they actually have some pretty good prices on select other items, organic items as well. They have a small organic section, which is impressive, so support them for sure. Anyways, next question is from Becky Burrell. Hey John, some say no starch is managed in our bodies, including the hybridized carrots, beets, dates, and the common bananas of today. What are your thoughts on this? Do these sugars run away and cause unneeded excess stress on the body? All right, Becky, so I've already covered this question. I'll put a link down below to the video. I did talk with my opinions on hybrid fruits. And, you know, basically most things in our lives are hybrids. And sugars are one element of a food. And here's the thing, right? I want you guys to actually not focus on super sweet foods. I want you guys to focus on super nutrient dense foods, whether they're hybridized or not. You're right. I grow actually this guy right here. It's like, I'll show you that, guys. This is like purple, dazzling dinosaur kale. It has like a purple stem. This is a hybrid. If I eat this, am I gonna get some funky ass sugars because it's a hybridized vegetable? Like I don't believe so. And kale just in itself is just so nutritious. Just because it's hybridized, does that make it bad? Like, my opinion is no, so that's a short answer. My video, once again, link is down below for the full answer. And, you know, I would encourage you guys, you know, carrots. I love carrots. Original carrots were actually not orange, right? And they had less sugar in them than the ones of today. So, hey, grow some heirloom carrots if they're not poisonous to eat. The original carrot was from like Queens and Lace, which is actually quite toxic. But they have like heirloom carrots that are like deep purple color. And man, I'll take some deep purple carrot juice any day over eating whole bananas or even whole other fruits that whoever is saying this do not consider hybridized, right? They're so nutritious. So, you know, that's not a consideration for me. Although a consideration is, I want you guys to reduce, you know, to the extent as possible, the amount of sugars you eat and eat more greens in their place. The more sugar you eat, that means the more calories you're getting from those foods and the less vegetables you'll be eating. So eat more vegetables, guys, even if you got to eat some beans that are in heat processed and fermented, you know, instead. So that's my current belief and thinking at this point in time. Next question is from Dat Dank. How do you absorb a juice the most efficient? Drink it slow or fast? I heard fat helps absorb your greens. How do I better prime my body to intake juices? All right, so how do you absorb juice most efficient? Take your time. That's the most important thing, right? Don't just guzzle it down, right? Take your time, nurse it, right? Take your time. And then the other thing is have some fats with your juices. Very important. You know, what I've been doing lately sometimes is I basically visited a hemp farm in Colorado. I got basically a CBD hemp extract that they put in coconut oil. And I basically take a teaspoon of that and have that coconut oil in there first. And then I'll drink my juice to have some oil digesting with my high antioxidant rich, bioflavonoid rich, nutrient dense juices. You know, sometimes if I don't want to do that, I might mix a little coconut yogurt or have some coconut yogurt, which is a more of a whole food source of fat, or just have a handful of nuts. Have a handful of nuts and then eat my juices. A bad idea would be just to take your juice and then blend it with nuts, because now you're oxidizing all the nutrients in your juice in your blender, unless you're using a vacuum blender. But then better yet than that is just chew on some nuts, swallow them, or maybe have a few nuts here and there when drinking your juice, in my opinion. And make sure when you're drinking your juice, you want to chew your juice. Like, put your juice in your mouth, swish it around, leave it in there for a while, and then swallow. Don't just like guzzle it down. This will mix some salivary amylase and get the digestive juices flowing and help us digest our juice better, in my opinion. Also, of course, having a good microbiome, you know, because also besides us digesting the food, our microbiome digests the food as well. So maybe even leave some of that fiber that your juicer's putting out in the juice, because that'll feed your microbiome, and maybe you'll get even higher uptakes of the nutrients in the juice because of it, all right? Next question is from Shannon Wright. What are your thoughts on eating wild lettuce for pain medication, as I've had lower back pain but do not want to use traditional over-the-counter meds, can't use medicinal marijuana CBD due to strict drug policy at work, and I came across the use of wild lettuce. Just want your thoughts of this plant if you can. All right, Shannon, so I don't have a problem with using any plant for its medicinal uses, wild lettuces or otherwise. You know, especially when using wild plants, you know, some of these, the relief we're going to get are from some of the toxins, or the light toxins, like wild lettuce. Actually, I'm growing a kind of wild lettuce. It's actually called a tropical lettuce. It grows through the heat, 100 degrees. I have some coming up that I think I see it right there, planted. And it's actually quite strong and bitter tasting, right? And these bitter compounds can be quite beneficial for us. You know, they've been basically bred out of the common day lettuce, which I have planted in this bit over here at the end. And is this good or a bad thing? Well, it's a good and bad thing at the same time. So, you know, I'd say I'd try it, you know, because I'm all for natural means and methods, all right? Next question is from Vaughn Monades. Hey, John, I love you. Well, thank you. And love your energy. Knowing you have been raw for longer than I have been alive, I have one question for you. What is a healthy diet to you? Would be grateful for a response, or possible a video address the depth of this question with love. All right, Vaughn, so what is a healthy diet? Well, a healthy diet is a diet that will basically fulfill all our nutrient requirements, and even go above and beyond that, provide ourselves additional nutrients so our bodies could be more resilient. And like, how do we do that? What does that mean? And that's a big topic to discuss in just like a single Q&A episode. So I would say that, you know, I want you guys to eat nutrient-dense foods. You know, my latest research indicates that eating more nutrient-dense is foods with higher pigments. For example, choosing purple potatoes, if you guys are still cooking potatoes instead of the standard rust potatoes, choosing purple carrots over the yellow carrots, choosing, you know, purple cauliflower instead of the white cauliflower at the store, you know, making these small incremental changes, choosing blueberries, you know, instead of bananas. It's all these little things that add up, in my opinion, you know. I think people don't eat enough leafy greens, as well as, you know, seaweeds for the trace minerals. Importantly, these are very important elements. I think the greens are just shoved aside in general. In addition, I think a really important part of being healthy is eating living, healthy, vibrant food. You know, that's why I take the time to grow all my food, or a big portion of that's why I take the time to grow all my food in my backyard. And eat a good portion of the food I grew that I fresh pick each and every day. And, you Other than that, I would say a whole food plant-based diet as a starting place. Will some people need to eat meat? I don't personally eat meat. I don't think we need to eat meat, but I've seen that some people may do better with eating meat, and there may be various reasons for that. But my goal is to try to find all the nutrients I need from plants, and if there is a nutrient in meat that I can't find in plants currently, I'm going to find out how the meat got that nutrient, and then I'm going to go to that. So for example, I'd rather eat algae than take a DHA supplement, and eat the algae that has a DHA, but at present time that's not currently available for me to do, so I'm taking a algae extracted, a DHA basically. So, and then we want high water content foods, and foods that are going to agree with you and your microbiome, which is totally next level. I hope to get microbiome testing to see what foods better agree with me, and I think that's basically all I'm going to say on this. I think the best thing to look at is Dr. Joel Fuhrman's work, Nutritarian Diet, Eat to Live. That's probably my highest recommendation, for a diet style that is healthy. Of course, I do what I consider a raw nutritarian style diet, which is a little bit even more complex than just a nutritarian diet that, would be a lot easier and probably a lot less expensive as well, all right? So I hope that answers your question. Maybe I'll do an upcoming video on this because it's a big topic, and if I do this, I want to make sure I don't leave anything out, and I don't want anybody following my gospel and have it be wrong. What I've learned and what I share in my videos have worked for me, and it's my continued learning and sharing so that I could continue to learn and grow. So thank you for being there to allow me to continue to learn and grow. Besides, I'd be doing it myself anyways. All right, 2 more questions. Isabel Romania, hi. Just watched your video about EMF with Dr. Elizabeth Plord, and you talked about the stickers. I bought a Qlink SRT3, and actually that's what I'm wearing right now, my Qlink SRT3, hoping I would get some relief, manufactured in the US, so hopefully genuine. However, I live in a place where we have 5G and wanted to know if you think the dot, and I have the dot actually on the back of my Qlink SRT3, would help me, as I've spent already lots of money but found little relief, especially at night. Did you do the inquiry you had talked about at the end? What are your conclusions on these dots? And finally, where to buy them on a secure site? I heard the doctor mention the UK, so I'd be interested in finding where she got them from. All right, Isabella, so here's the thing, right? This is my honest opinion. While I do wear a Qlink and have one of those dots on the back, I'm still not sure if these dots do anything. I know the Qlink does do something, even if it is in my head mentally, right? When I wear it, I feel more at ease and more grounded and better. In addition, when I got this, originally I did Correllian photography showing my energy emanating from my fingertips before, which is already really high, and then after wearing it, and even it improved after wearing it for a day. So I believe it works. Whether that's psychological or not is one thing, right? The whole next level is is this effective at even negating EMF radiation and things? And it may. I don't really know the answer to that. I'm not going to claim that I do. Do these dots really work? I don't really know. If it's psychological and you get, a placebo effect from it, then it is working, and I think that is great. In my personal opinion, especially if I had 5G outside, I would A, move if possible, or B, protect yourself aside from getting different dots and things that may or may not work. I would do a realistic approach, and actually they have EMF paint. Actually, you can paint your room with this EMF paint. I will say that I got basically metal sheeting to line the inside, one of the walls of inside my garage to basically deflect, radiation coming from outside. Cost several $100s of basically metal sheeting. Maybe this is kind of crazy, but if it helps me sleep better at night and reduces the radiation from an EMF meter that I have, then that is the telltale sign. So I would recommend you guys minimally get an EMF reader or meter to determine this and research a good one. I don't have a recommendation at this time. I think I use the Tri-Field 3 meter right now is the one I'm using. It's kind of like the good home unit, although you could spend a lot more money and get a better one, so you could kind of at least get some kind of, a range of what's going on. Of course, turn off the Wi-Fi in your house even before dealing with the 5G outside. We want to negate the stuff going on inside your house. There's even wiring inside your walls. I mean, you could get crazy with all this stuff. I have different devices around my house to try to negate some of these things, and I'm still working on even making it better, all right? But yeah, they have that EMF resistant paint. I think it's from Europe, kind of can get quite expensive and costly. Also, you could put different kind of, you could wear clothing. That's probably the easiest thing to do. You could buy fabric that has silver impregnated fabric and then basically wear the clothing to protect yourself individually. They have like a thing you could put over your bed. You know, I have a grounding, sleeping bag that I sleep in that'll give some level of protection, although it also does the grounding, which I think is beneficial. So hope that answers your question. That's all I got at this time on that until I do a more in-depth topic video about it. All right. Jay Smith, hey man, if you see this message, can you please tell me how vegans would get B12 in nature? I see your blood test video and all the people I thought you'd surely get enough B12 from organic cobalt-rich homegrown food. I'm freaking out, man. Please help. All right, Jay. So here's the thing, right? I've had friends that grow a garden and eat dirty food, and their B12 levels was not good enough. I grow my own food. I add lots of different bacteria and lots of different trace minerals. I think I even had some kind of different nutrient or fertilizer that actually added cobalt in my soil in small amounts. But here's the thing, right? If we don't have the bacteria in the soil, you're not going to make the B12. And then the other thing is, if we eat the B12, is it absorbable and is it going to get into us, right? I think a better alternative is to get, how would we get it in nature, is basically we would get B12 in nature by drinking dirty water in streams back in the day when streams were contaminated with bacteria, balance of good and bad. But now streams are contaminated with other chemicals and other things that are really bad. So obviously in the past we have gotten our B12 from nature. We would also get it from animals, but animals don't make it in themselves. They eat, animals eat copious amounts of greens and pull up grass if they're in the field. And, they get the bacteria, and then the bacteria live inside them, and then the bacteria poop out the B12, and then the animals get the B12. Maybe some animals eating, corn and soy are getting basically B12 supplementation, because corn and soy does not, especially growing the Roundup, does not have, the B12 in there either. And so my suggestion and what I do is that I think people should supplement, whether vegan or non-vegan, because not just because you're vegan, you're going to be deficient in B12. Modern people is going to be deficient in B12. It has to do with, we're sterilizing the environment, which I think is sad. So, my goal here is to grow food that has B12 on it. I hope I get it. But if not, that's all right. My first goal is to get it from here, but I'm not going to rely on this, that I am doing it. Then I'd like to get it from maybe a food I'm eating. Maybe chlorella may have it. Maybe vitamin mineral green may be a good supplement to have that may help with raising B12. But I take a supplement just to be sure. Pretty soon, actually, there are supplements now. I know Matt Monarch just started selling a supplement that actually is proven. I think it's actually isolated from a cheese, like Swiss cheese. This bacteria, beneficial probiotic, will make B12 within us. So that's the ultimate. I'm supposed to be ordering that stuff. I have not ordered it yet, but I will be soon. And basically, I'm going to take that internally so that my body could make my own B12. In addition, I'm going to take that probiotic supplement that he sells with that bacteria that makes the B12, and I'm going to basically spray it all over my garden. So now hopefully this bacteria will be in my garden and making B12 and maybe pumping it into my plants or pumping it on the plant leaves. When I'm eating them, I'll get the B12 as well that way. So, that's my honest answer. I would say don't waste your money on the B12 patches. I've tried them, and I don't believe they work at this point. I get a good sublingual B12, generally with adenzocobalamin or methylcobalamin. I don't like to usually take the cyanocobalamin myself. So I think that's pretty much it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed this Q&A episode on my OK Raw channel, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with other raw vegans, or people you may think it can help. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or we'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And make sure to click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. Finally, be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. A lot of these topics I have covered in detail in some of my different videos I have made in the past. So check my past episodes. I will put a couple links down below to some of the videos that I've referenced in this episode for people that have asked specific questions as well. So with that, my name is John Kohler with okraw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keeping your fresh fruits and nutrient-dense vegetables, they're always the best.